Welcome to the Midlife Rider Project. This is a place for riders who have lived a little and learned a lot. A place for honest reflection, lived experience, and listening for the wisdom that emerges as we ride through this second season of life. Being in midlife means a lot of things change. Dealing with those changes can require us to dig deep, be creative, and ask for help when we need it. We may also have to reconcile that we do, in fact, need more help with more things than we used to. Before we go further, I want to tie this into a few things that we've already talked about. We've had conversations here about whether we're too old to be doing this at all. We've talked about confidence, safety, and knowing when not today is the right call. About choosing the right horse so that we can actually feel secure and enjoy what we're doing. And even in some of those, we've touched on the feeling of becoming a little more invisible in midlife and what that brings up. All of these things matter, but this feels like the next step in that conversation. Because once you move past the question of whether you can keep riding, you start to run into something else. And that is who you are as a rider now and how you think or feel about that. Mindset can help us navigate this. Your mindset has a huge impact on how you experience midlife. If you believe it's a time of loss or decline, then that belief will shape your thoughts and choices. But if you start to see it as a time of growth and self discovery, everything begins to shift toward that idea. Having horses and continuing to ride into our 50s, 60s, and beyond can add to the way we enjoy life. But it also can serve as a reminder of how age is changing us. You feel it on certain days more than others. Like in your body when you go to get on your horse or in your balance. It could be in the way that your horse responds to something, and you immediately begin wondering if today is the day you're going to take a fall. These moments have a way of getting your attention now in new ways. This episode is here to help you challenge old beliefs and build a mindset that supports happiness, joy, clarity, and even personal power in these midlife years. I should also say here that all of this comes from lived experience, since as a midlife rider myself, I am dealing with all of these things too. A lot of the fear we have about midlife comes from messages we've picked up on earlier in life. We hear that aging or being old means slowing down, that we're undervalued or not valued at all, and that we become invisible. We absorb these cultural messages, whether we intend to or not. And these ideas can show up in the saddle in ways that we don't always recognize right away. Hesitating about something that we never used to before, or questioning ourselves more than we used to, assuming something is wrong instead of just different. All of these ideas can keep us stuck and unhappy as we move through these years. Here's something that I found really useful. You don't have to keep repeating stories that don't reflect who you are now. When you take the time to assess which beliefs are useful and which aren't, you can question where they came from and whether they match your mindset, values, and experience. I think of this as upgrading my own mindset so that I can open the door to more peace and joy. Not only that, but when you do this, your experience kind of ripples out to help others see what's possible too, effectively giving them permission to embrace the possibilities of midlife. Working with a coach helped me see that you get to choose thoughts that support your growth. If a thought makes you feel small, less than, or stressed out, it's a pretty good sign that it may not be serving you. You can choose to focus on thoughts that align with who you are now. Consider what you've learned, what matters to you and what doesn't, and what feels possible for you. All of these things can help you establish thoughts that support you both in and out of the saddle. There are many possibilities in midlife. It can be a time of first experiences, like when you begin something new. You might also use it to return to something that was once meaningful to you that you had to set aside, or even approach familiar things in a different way. In your riding, this might look like riding with more intention, knowing why you do it, why you love it, and what it means to you as you share this time with your horse. It could be paying attention to feel instead of just outcome, letting your horse teach you in ways you might have missed before because now you're tuning in differently as you ride. This season of life can open the door to experiences that feel more aligned with who you are now. So, what about the shoulds? We have all received plenty of messages about what midlife should look like. This is a good time to question those expectations. Should is one of those words that I always associate with someone else's ideas about the things I am doing and not my own. Instead of following what you think you should do, you can begin to focus on what you actually want. And that shift can start with a simple few questions like these. What do I look forward to most in a day? What activities make me feel calm, excited, or proud? What goals feel meaningful? What am I doing just because I feel like I have to? What would I do more of if no one else had a say? Answering these questions honestly can give you useful insight into how you want to move forward, both in life and in your riding. Midlife invites us all to step into the saddle differently, to show up in our lives differently, with more awareness, intention, and a clear sense of what actually matters now. Chances are pretty good that you're not the same rider you were before. I know for sure that I'm not. But I don't see that as a problem. I see it as just being the way things are now, something I have to work with. Maybe that's the real shift that we experience here. Not that we have to prove that we can still do this, but that we're learning how to do it in a way that's right for us now. So before you finish up in the barn today, take a moment and ask yourself, what felt good in your ride? Ignore any of the thoughts that come up about what could have gone better. Focus on what actually felt good. What would it look and feel like to build more of your rides around that? If this episode gave you something to think about, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next one. And if you're looking for resources that support you and your horse, from everyday essentials to things that make your time in the barn a little easier, you can check out the resources page. I've linked some of the things that I use and trust there. You'll find that in the show notes. I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you for spending this time with me. If this episode resonated, I hope you'll join me again next week as we continue riding through this season together. Until then, take good care of yourself and your horse.